Oh, hey, didn't see you there. All right, guys, so we're gonna talk about our snatch now. So I think the landmine snatch is probably my favorite just movement in the gym, period. I feel the most badass, most explosive, the most coordinated in general just when doing this particular movement. So let's talk about some of the main points here and just what it is and what we're doing. So for our deadlift, we took it from the ground to our hip, position 1 to position 2. For our clean, we took it from the ground to our shoulder, 1 to 2, 2 to 3. For the jerk, 3 to 4. But now what we're doing is we're skipping 3 and we're going straight from 1 to 2 to 4, okay? So this involves a switch of your feet and a switch of the barbell in your hands. So some of the main things that you wanna work on when you're doing your snatch is don't skip your steps because you know you're going all the way to the top. You can start to do a lot of stuff that gets in the way of having efficient form. So if I'm gonna say the whole alphabet, I can't skip the middle section just because I know I'm gonna get to Z, right? I need to say the whole thing or get through the whole thing. So what I mean by that is I want you to make sure that you're staying in your legs as long as possible, which means out of your arm as long as possible. My arm is 10%, 20%, 30%, I don't know, as strong as my legs are. So if I start to pull really soon with my arm and I leave my legs, I'm taking away power from where I can really use it and generate it and trying to create it somewhere that doesn't have as much efficiency or structure or stability, right? So what that's gonna look like is if I start to push with my legs are moving this speed, but my arm starts to pull it, and then now all the weight's in my arm. I wanna stay in my legs as long as possible, which comes from having a good deadlift. And then as I jump, I can pull, and as I pull, I can then come through aggressively with that underside arm, landing in position number 4. That's why we drill position number 4 so often and so much, okay? So again, I wanna make sure that I stay in my legs for a long time. I wanna make sure that I really emphasize the coil and the rotation because the uppercut of that arm that's coming through creates a tremendous amount of power to accelerate the barbell to the sky, right? I have what my front leg is doing to jump and pull. That's one piece of my body. That's, one member on the team. But I also have what this side is crunching and this side is pushing with to continue the acceleration, okay? So if I don't do that and it just looks like that, that's not a lot of power. That's not a lot of speed or acceleration. But if I can stay coiled and really come underneath the bar, then I can really accelerate through my core, my ribs, and use my core, my ribs to throw this arm into the bar, okay? And then number 3 fault that I see probably the most often is, again, this movement is complex, so there's a lot of pieces to consider and a lot of things going on at the same time, but is that you're gonna be catching the bar too high. Okay, so just like with our jerk where we catch it too high because we're worried about getting it up, we wanna make sure that we pull the barbell as high as it needs to go, and then the rest of that distance is us dropping underneath it to catch it in the lowest position that we can. Because if this bar weighs, 35 pounds, to pull it to here takes this much energy, to pull it to here takes this much, here takes this much. The less energy I can use, the more energy I have to actually generate power and the more weight I can lift, all right? So once I get the barbell up and going, the rest of it is me dropping underneath it to catch it, okay? So I'm not trying to get the barbell to here, I'm trying to get the barbell to here, and then I come underneath the weight in my split, all right? So those are a couple big things to really notice about the snatch. I wanna make sure that I stay in my legs as long as possible so that I can jump with the weight and accelerate it up. Once I feel that jump really accelerating, I can then start my pull and my rotation. So it's like 1 into 2, all right? So 1 into 2, and then 2, feet split, hand comes through, and I punch it straight to the sky to catch it in my powerful, stable overhead position number 4.